हाँ, जैसे सही वजन से ग्राहक होते हैं खुश, वैसे ही सही सुरक्षा से परिवार होता है कल की चिंता से मुक्त। इसलिए मेरी मानो, आज ही जुड़िए प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना और प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना से, जो देती हैं 2-2 लाख रुपए का बीमा। दिखाइए समझदारी, निभाइए जिम्मेदारी।
आज ही अपनी नजदीकी बैंक शाखा या डाकघर जाकर इन योजनाओं से जुड़ें।
Get in-depth analysis of the important news of the day. Spotlight on day's newsmakers. Expert comments to dissect the news. Get the finer points of the matter. Watch Dateline 5 p.m. on weekdays on DD India.
Hello and welcome. It is 7:30 in the evening in India and we are back again with a spotlight on G20. It's a news-packed show today. The first G20 Health Working Group meeting got underway in Thiruvananthapuram today with the overarching objective of creating a fairer global health architecture. We will bring you up to speed with the developments of day one of the 3-day meeting and get you a flavor of the Indian cuisine and culture on display in Thiruvananthapuram. I'm Naman Paracharya. Let's get started with the top stories. 3-day meeting of the G20 Health Working Group gets underway in Thiruvananthapuram. Union Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Bharati Praveen Pawar, calls for making pandemic policy a defining part of health policy. Union Minister S.V. Muralidharan introduces G20 delegates to the power of wellness and healing of Ayurveda. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan outlines 3 priorities of G20 Health Track: health emergencies prevention, preparedness and response, strengthening cooperation in the pharmaceutical sector and digital health solutions and innovations to aid universal health coverage. It says India's aim is to achieve convergence across multilateral fora on health cooperation. Deliberations on day one focus on best practices in digital public goods and preparedness for future health emergencies and on building robust frameworks for ensuring availability to safe, effective, quality and affordable vaccines, therapeutics and diagnostics. Cultural programs organized in the sidelines of the Health Working Group meeting. G20 delegates witnessed Kathakali demonstration. Sarapakkalam art showcased at the event along with calligraphy in Malayalam. Multimedia mega show held on the theme World is One Family. The first Health Working Group meeting began in Thiruvananthapuram today. At the meeting, thematic discussions are taking place on India's health track priorities as G20 President. Here's what happened on the first day of the 3-day meeting.
A traditional welcome was accorded to G20 delegates in Thiruvananthapuram ahead of the first Health Working Group meeting under India's G20 presidency. The meeting started with the inaugural address by Union Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Bharati Praveen Pawar, and the Union Minister of State for External Affairs, S.V. Muralidharan. Dr. Pawar called for making pandemic policy a defining part of the health policy, as any health crisis today leads to an economic crisis due to the multi-sectoral nature of our interconnected world. She noted that pandemic prevention, preparedness and response require diverse multi-sectoral and multi-agency efforts.
That the COVID-19 pandemic will not be the last one. Our agenda must be to respond together each time the threats emerge. We must align ourselves with emerging scientific evidence and diversify our capacities and capabilities and strengthen our early warning systems. In an increasingly interconnected world, we need to ensure that our communities are resilient and have equal opportunities to protect themselves in the face of crisis.
Highlighting India's strong culture of medical practices and innovation, Union Minister Muralidharan stressed on the need to align the agenda of G20 countries for preparedness and response to be able to effectively meet any health emergencies.
The Union Minister introduced the G20 delegates with the power of wellness and healing of Ayurveda.
You are in a land where Ayurveda originated and practiced in its purest form extensively. Your visit cannot be complete if you have not encountered or experienced Ayurveda. Literally, Ayurveda translates to science of life. The practice of Ayurveda includes use of herbal medicines, massage therapy, and dietary changes to maintain or restore perfect balance in the body. I am confident that after you explore, you will understand why this state of Kerala is named God's own country.
Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan highlighted India's aim as the chair of G20 to achieve convergence in discussions across various multilateral fora engaged in health cooperation. He outlined 3 priorities for the G20 health track.
India has chosen 3 priorities effectively in continuation of the discussions during the previous presidencies. These priorities are health emergencies prevention, preparedness and response with focus on One Health and AMR, strengthening cooperation in pharmaceutical sector with focus on availability and access to safe, effective, quality and affordable medical countermeasures, and digital health innovations and solutions in aid of universal health coverage.
The Indonesian and Brazilian Troika members commended the Indian presidency for identifying the 3 health priorities. They stated that the pandemic has given an opportunity to strengthen health systems and called for accelerating efforts to ensure universal health coverage.
On the sidelines of the meeting, an exhibition has been organized by the Ministry of Ayush, where G20 delegates were given Prakriti consultations carried out under Ayurveda.
प्रकृति परीक्षण आयुर्वेद का एक महत्वपूर्ण भाग है जिसमें स्वस्थ पुरुष और जो रोगी है दोनों के लिए ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। और आयुर्वेद में बहुत सारी परीक्षाएं हैं जिसमें दशविध परीक्षा में जो सबसे पहला है वो है प्रकृति परीक्षण, जो दोषों के आधारित है, वायु, पित्त और कफ। ये 3 दोषों की सामान्य अवस्था में एक व्यक्ति के खान पान, रहन सहन और मन के विचार के अनुसार क्या स्थिति है, उसका जो परीक्षण है वह प्रकृति परीक्षण। We are trying to translate that concept of prakriti into basic biological research to find out the genomic and molecular correlates of the
G20 delegates from various countries and international organizations expressed confidence that India will be able to address global health challenges.
I believe that they are going to make a very good job, both for G20 and for all the world, and they are going to overcome to very serious health issues problem, especially in global, administering the health issues in the global scale. So it will be written the Indian name in golden letters to the history of G20.
That we can learn from India. The world can learn from India and the way that we saw the rollout of vaccines in India, the way you have manufacturing here in the country, and the way that we have diagnostics capacity in India. I think how ACTA views the world is more how ACTA can serve the world.
India was a great example for us to follow, and I think many countries are trying to figure out how they can engage more around the world and contribute to the solidarity. So I think we saw a lot of generosity by countries, but it just needs to be better spread across the world, I think, and so that's really what we're getting at here.
As G20 President, India aims to join hands with other G20 member states towards creating a fairer global health architecture. And the first G20 Health Working Group meeting has started the journey towards achieving that goal. With inputs from Aisha Khanam and Nitendra Singh, Bureau Report, DD India.
DD India correspondent Aisha Khanam spoke to Luigi D. Aquino. He is the Chief of Health, UNICEF, and Dr. Lakshmi Narasimhan Balaji, Senior Advisor, Health, Maternal and Newborn Child Adolescent Health with UNICEF in New York on pandemic preparedness and ensuring health equity globally. Take a listen.
The G20 health track happening at Trivandrum in Kerala, which is God's own country, and this state perhaps has set many trends with regard to health. And with the first working health group meeting happening here in Kerala, there are many priorities and focus that will be discussed during this G20 meeting. And also there are several agencies which are involved apart from the several state representatives, and among these is UNICEF, who will be making their observations during this G20 meeting to talk more on the priorities that UNICEF has and how UNICEF looks at India's presidency during this G20. I have with me Dr. Balaji, who heads the Health Systems Strengthening Unit in Program Division. Welcome to DD News, Dr. Balaji. And I have with me Luigi, who is Chief of Health Section, UNICEF India. Welcome to the session. Thank you for joining us. Now, very interesting aspect, we are talking of in strengthening the health systems. We are talking of prioritizing the health and handling emergencies. And since this sector, Dr. Balaji, I would like to come to you first. What would be the role of G20 in strengthening the primary health systems to ensure health care, and also in the context of Global South?
In the last 3 years, beginning with Italy and then Indonesia and now India, the COVID pandemic has become a center of the global attention, and particularly the G20. And during the COVID pandemic, it was very clear that essential public health functions in many parts of the world, particularly the low-income countries and the low-middle-income countries, and the communities that are very poor, have been disrupted. And many of the parameters on which the countries were on a good track as far as the Sustainable Development Goal 3 was concerned have either plateaued or even started reversing. And this points to very clearly some serious problems on the primary health care infrastructure in many of these countries. The workforce is not fully geared to handle outbreaks and prevent them from becoming an epidemic and eventually becoming a pandemic. So the emphasis of the G20 and the global community, G7, all of these are around pandemic preparedness and resilience, which is about strengthening the health infrastructure, the health workforce, to detect problems that can become outbreaks early on before they can become an epidemic or a pandemic, and build a resilient health system that will continue with ongoing essential public health functions without disruptions. So that is the focus of the G20 meeting.
During would you like to add on to this? Because G20 platform is such that wherein, UNICEF can lend its thoughts and its vision through this platform. How do you see, UNICEF chalking out their role with regard to handling emergencies and preparedness in handling emergencies? And we've always heard prevention is better than cure.
Sure.
So this is one of the priorities in this G20 summit as well. So your views?
True, and I think just adding rather than duplicating what Dr. Balaji was saying, there is the other side of the moon is where we all start from. If you don't think about healthcare, but health and well-being as the center of a concept of primary healthcare, then the knowledge, the behaviors of individuals, families, communities become central for any responsible action in health, be it prevent, be it response, be it support systems, access to facilities. And therefore, certainly, and we have learned this, I'm talking of India, and from a UNICEF India perspective, it's a big lesson to be learned about how leveraging media, leveraging community structures, leveraging mechanisms, the population has not been dealt with as a passive recipient, but rather as an active respondent. We are in Kerala, where the model of primary health care, has taught the world what it means in practice. So I think that's where UNICEF has certainly a role in claiming and proposing the role of community engagement as key to the promotion and protection of children's rights. Because at the end of the day, for us, is the rights to, in this case, life and health for children. So there's a role there. And then, of course, there are the priorities that the government of India has, through the presidency, put forward, which see a lot of our engagement on a programmatic front, be it the pharmaceutical sector or the digital space, where UNICEF is really globally, and in this country, a very relevant actor within the space of cooperation and development.
Digital health is one of the key aspects and also the priority topic subjects here at G20. So, what is the vision of UNICEF? Vision on digital health during India's G20 presidency. How do you look at this?
UNICEF and WHO during the COVID worked together to what is called DICE, D-I-C-E, which stands for Digital Health Center of Excellence. This is an initiative with funding from many of the other partners, Bill and Melinda Gates, GIZ, US Aid, Global Fund, UK, Gavi, World Bank, everyone put their efforts together. UNICEF and WHO acts as the secretariat. There are some great beginnings that have been made in promoting digital health interventions to reduce inequities at country level. A good number of things have happened across many countries. India is one of the front runners in that. What we need is to use that excellent work that has been done because of the pandemic to go into an all hands on deck approach, where you cannot do digital health purely for one disease or one sector. You have to do it across multiple areas. And in many countries where it is paired together with other sectors like education, like prevention of abuse. So you need digital health across multiple sectors, and therefore it is not just about health ministry or an IT ministry, but something where many sectors need to get together and start a digital approach and do that vis-a-vis specific bottlenecks, because every country has certain bottlenecks, and certain countries may have supply related bottlenecks, certain countries may have training related bottlenecks. So we can actually, together with the G20 forum and all of the agencies that are working on, identify problems that are context specific and sector specific, and use that as the basis on how to promote digital interventions and digital innovation. One cautionary approach I would underline here is we should be careful in ensuring that there is no digital divide, and making sure that the policies and the regulations are such that they are equitable, and even the poorest of the poor, who may not have access to all of the latest smartphones, for example, has access to whatever are the interventions.
That process perhaps has already begun, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken up Digital India and the vision, and the vision of UNICEF seems to be integrated along with this. Luigi, would you like to just sum up your observations as Dr. Balaji talked about digital health? So how do you see, where do you see India standing right now?
Well, I see India standing,
in the leadership role.
yes, absolutely, with a global leadership role, and in a way that speaks to a concept where the vision of digital health is all along, from informing populations to surveillance to training to care to booking vaccines, booking tests, providing telemedicine. So it's not a one-stop shop here or there, but it has been made an organic asset that is at the service of making healthcare of better quality, more accessible, and at better value for money. There is a big role of India, I believe, in the G20 when it comes to digital health, and we have seen it in many ways during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is about being the voice of many other LMICs in what means or not accessing goods, pharmaceutical, digital goods, and also into digital health in promoting this as global public goods with no license, access to all, and adjustable, tailored to the needs of individual countries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking to Doordarshan. That's all we have time for now. That was Dr. Balaji and Louis speaking to Doordarshan as they underline the vision of UNICEF and also India's leadership, and India playing an important role in taking forward the vision by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in providing health for all. And with digital health, the digital divide is almost narrowed down. With with my colleague Narendra, Aisha Khanam signing off from Thiruvananthapuram.
G20 is offering an opportunity to India to showcase its tourist destinations. Aisha Khanam caught up with Sundaram Murthy, incredible India tourism facilitator. Listen in.
Well, we have start with how the history of the whole of Kerala, as well in the particular city of the capital city of Kerala itself. And if you say so, the first impression we give to the guest to the walk freely anytime. Mainly they ask me regarding the cuisine of Kerala as well.
Okay. They ask you the cuisine.
Yeah, cuisine as well, because they are very much like about regarding the sea fish and the sea unbroken coastal stretch in particular in this area.
Okay.
So that they are very amazing. The backwater means many rivers joining become a lake. That's called a backwater.
Kerala's art forms were at display at the meeting venue. Here's a glimpse of the Rangoli and a look at the preparations by cultural performers ahead of their performances. Calligraphy in Malayalam was showcased on the sidelines too.
ये तो कैलीग्राफी है सर, तो ये बेसिकली ये है कि those guests that we have here, उसका नाम हम हिंदी में मलयालम में राइट कर उनको we'll give it to them.
And with that, we come to the close of this edition of India at G20. Thanks for watching.
Ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over the reins of the country in 2014, what changes have you seen as far as the relationship and strengthening of ties between the two countries are concerned?
Where we can find that similarity, and why not brotherhood between two people? Counting on Serbian friends all around the world, with India just being on the top of that list. Expectations from India, from our side, are very simple and very concrete. That India succeed the best advertisement for some values shared by our side.
अरे वाह, लेजेंड की बैट, इससे तो मैं खेलूंगा। फ्यूचर बैटिंग लेजेंड है।
इसमें जिसका नाम लिखा है बैट उसी को मिलेगी।
अरे यार,
देखा, अगर इस पे मेरा नाम नहीं लिखा होता तो कितनी दिक्कत हो जाती। इसलिए आरबीआई कहता है बैंक अकाउंट हो या बैंक लॉकर, उसमें नॉमिनी का नाम जरूर दर्ज करें ताकि आपकी जमा पूंजी उसी को मिले जिसे आपने नामित किया है। आरबीआई कहता है जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
Ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over the reins of the country in 2014, what changes have you seen as far as the relationship and strengthening of ties between the two countries are concerned?
Where we can find that similarity, and why not brotherhood between two people? Counting on Serbian friends all around the world, with India just being on the top of that list. Expectations from India, from our side, are very simple and very concrete. That India succeed the best advertisement for some values shared by our side.
G20 नए विचारों की परिकल्पना के लिए और सामूहिक एक्शन को गति देने के लिए एक ग्लोबल प्राइम मूवर की तरह काम करें। वैश्विक विकास महिलाओं की भागीदारी के बिना संभव नहीं है। भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता की थीम वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर में पूर्ण रूप से समाहित है।
Congratulations to you for the award. You're already so accomplished and have been bestowed with many honors in the past. But tell us, how does this one feel, knowing it's the highest award which your country of origin can bestow upon you as an Indian living abroad?
Certainly, it's a very big recognition from one's own country, and I can only feel humbled, honored, privileged upon receiving the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Award 2023. I feel this award really acknowledges the very hard work that scientists are doing and making a difference to society in turn.
changing world of news. Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you. The latest and most accurate updates. A fresh start to a new day. The Breakfast News, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. on DD India.
थैंक यू सर। जिंदगी टॉप गियर में चलेगी जब परिवार के कल की सुरक्षा होगी नॉन स्टॉप। इसलिए मेरी मानो, आज ही जुड़िए प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना और प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना से, जो देती है 2-2 लाख रुपए का बीमा। दिखाइए समझदारी, निभाइए जिम्मेदारी।
आज ही अपनी नजदीकी बैंक शाखा या डाकघर जाकर इन योजनाओं से जुड़ें।
Namaskar and thank you for joining us here on this special program where we discuss issues related to geoeconomics. The theme of this year's World Economic Forum meet in Davos is Cooperation in a Fragmented World. Now, just prior to the start of the meeting, the WEF had brought out its Global Risks Report 2023, and this report, it says that the world is facing a polycrisis. A return of older risks, inflation, cost of living crises, trade wars, capital outflows from emerging markets, widespread social unrest, geopolitical confrontation, and the specter of nuclear warfare. And it also says that these are being amplified by comparatively new developments in the global risks, that's landscape, and the global risks landscape, including unsustainable levels of debt, a new era of low growth, low global investment and deglobalization, and a decline in human development, and also the growing pressure of climate change, all sounding pretty gloomy. Now together these are converging to shape a unique, uncertain and turbulent decade to come. That's what it says. We'll discuss this statement, and to discuss it we have with us Shubham Bhattacharjee, author and senior journalist, and we will be joined by Piruz Kambata, who is the CMD of Rasna Private Limited. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhattacharjee, for being with us for the moment. Geeta Gopinath of the IMF says that it's going to be a tough year, but there are signs of resilience, she says, and she mentions strong labor markets in several countries, including the US and Europe, and she says that consumption has been holding up in several parts of the world. How do you view these signs of resilience?
Well, the very fact that we have come up after a COVID year, in fact 3 years of COVID, is itself a sign of resilience. I mean, I would say that itself is something, a very positive note to feel at the beginning of the year. I heard you, and rightly so, pointing out the risks, and those risks are definitely real and imminent. Some imminent, some certainly medium term. But I would say the very fact that the world has been able to handle the COVID pandemic, despite what's happening in China and other places, should give us the confidence that, we can possibly get on with the job.
Okay, we're also joined by Mr. Piruz Kambata, who is the CMD of Rasna Private Limited. Thank you very much, Mr. Kambata, for being with us. So, we are talking about what Geeta Gopinath of the IMF has said, and she's also said that she expects global growth to bottom out this year and improve, towards the second half of 2024. That's a positive signal. And she also highlights that India is a favorable investment destination. Do you see a clear window of opportunity for India here as, a business leader?
I definitely think so. And after every some sort of catastrophe, there is